So we'll call this meeting to order. This is the Continuing Nurse Education and IV Therapy Committee meeting for September. We do not have an on-site packet today. Don't believe there are any additions or revisions to our agenda. Okay, for announcements. I do just want to acknowledge, Karen Optenberg could not be here today, but we will have a certificate of appreciation for her. This would have been her last meeting as a committee member. So just want to acknowledge her and we'll make sure that she gets this certificate and our appreciation. So you should have all received the approval of minutes from the June 13th meeting. I'm going to take a moment now to review. Consider a motion. I have a motion to approve the June minutes.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? No. Anyone abstaining? Okay. Unfinished business.
Okay, sure. This is Carol Moreland. Update on the proposed revisions. Well, those revisions are no longer proposed and they're actually in effect. Those were the ones that the board approved in June. So they actually had an effective date, July 2023, after we got published and all of that. So those are out there, and the Nurse Practice Act on our website has been updated to include those. And then the update on CE Broker, we did implement CE Broker on September 1st. So we have information on our website about it. We've kind of been getting the information. We'll do a kind of probably a big thing in our next newsletter that will come out about it and everything. You know, I will just give a shout out to CE Broker. They did a lot of work putting together the applications for the CNE providers, because they will now be able to submit their applications through CE Broker, like their renewal and their new ones and stuff like that. That was a question that I had for you is, are we going to make it mandatory that they use that? Or are we just going to leave it optional?
I much want to be low to make it easier, but would make it more streamlined.
I think there's pros and cons both ways, truthfully. They did rework the form, so it will follow pretty much like our WebBuddy form. So it's not you're not gonna have to learn where to find things in a different place. They still have to pay us though, if it's like a single provider and stuff like that. Even though they submit the form through CE Broker, they still have to pay us. And I'm not sure exactly how well they're gonna understand that. Some of them are very familiar with doing it our way. So I didn't know if maybe you wanted to, for a little while, just leave it optional until people get into it a little bit more or something. It's up to you all.
Will this ensure that they get everything in there?
Well, I stressed that with CE Broker numerous times that the problem that we have is they don't submit everything. But the problem is when they upload stuff, you know, you can't say that, oh, this is a bibliography and that's the only thing that I'll accept here. They can't do that. So they're still going to upload documents like they do now. So I can't say that it's positively going to make sure that they submit the right things. There's a process once they submit it through there that I will get an email, and probably Stacy will get an email saying there's one out there for you to look, and I'll go out there and it'll be worked in CE Broker. And then once I put down, you know, that the initial application is approved to go to the CNE committee, then I put the date of the CNE committee and stuff like that. But we do have a way of printing it. Because that's what we have to do. We have to print those and then scan them and everything, and that's what goes in your packet. That was also another thing that they had to work on because I told them it had to be printed, you know. And so they did work, she did a lot of work on the form. She really did, so. So what do you want? You want it?
So it sounds like, we could continue to allow either for providers to choose how they want to submit.
Okay. We can kind of see how it goes. I was gonna tell you, the CE broker is gonna give us like a report every quarter on how it's being used. Okay, just remember, we went live with this on September 1st. There's already 134 registered accounts that have went out there. And the deal with the account is every licensee has a free account, but they have to go out and they have to activate it. And what they have to do when they activate it is they have to provide their information, which includes their email address. We do not release email addresses for our licensees. So that's why the licensee actually has to go out and activate that free account. And that's 134 have been doing that. So, you know, the word's getting out there.
Yeah.
Some will probably like it, some probably won't.
Would you wanna, like, maybe reevaluate in a certain time frame, or maybe just encourage people to?
My hope is for the CNE providers, just to let you know, to do some webinars, to go over various things that we see, you know, that are not getting submitted on these and stuff like that. Just to kind of give them some education. And I thought at that point, it would be good to introduce CE broker and how they can submit. And actually, I'm sure CE broker would be more than willing to do a webinar also for the providers, so that, because they would know it better than me. So we'll try to get information out.
So does it seem like maybe if we gave it 6 months, like brought it back in 6 months to see how the process was going for submission and review? And if we needed to provide a little more direction or guidelines at that time, we could revisit it. It seems like we've been talking about CE broker for a long time, so.
It kind of took us a while to get that one. It kind of,
Up
yeah.
and running.
And part of that was us, not CE broker. We had a lot of things.
I had a question on it. It didn't show my name.
Really, we had some people yesterday who were trying to get onto the program administrator. And one thing that they found is they have to put their full license number, because most people are used to just that middle number. And it won't work, because what we pass over to them is the full license.
Yeah.
So it doesn't show you renewal about what, when you're supposed to.
No, in February, I renewed
But just
and
check
it
your
still shows
license.
the 228.23.
Huh.
So I imagine, because I've just been playing with it to see,
Well,
you know, how I can educate my staff when it comes.
because I think we were getting ready to send new data,
Yeah, the data did get sent,
so I'm not sure why that didn't get picked
so
up.
we need to ask them about that.
Yeah, they have a really good help desk, because I told them when we went into this, I said, what I do not want is for licensing to get all these phone calls about, I don't know how to do CE broker, I can't get this to work. I said, licensing doesn't have time for that. They do not. And CE broker assured us that they have a really good help desk or whatever that is there available to the licensees to help them and answer their questions and stuff like that. So maybe submit that question to them, because it sounds like we've sent updated data.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check with him and see, I sent Tony a message to see if he can pull that, so we can compare.
Yeah, because I've been using it, because when I put it out to my staff, I want to be sure that things are working and that they're going to be comfortable with it, because we've just made a recent change over to HealthStream too, which is huge. And they got to put all the credentials and stuff in there too, and that we're using Workforce, so it pulls licensing and everything in there too. So I don't want to do too much at once, so I'm making sure everything. You know.
It was spot tested some, but it obviously won't know everyone.
Yeah. So
I'll send
anyways,
that to
that was one thing I noticed, and that's why I opened it real quick to see, did it ever update with it?
Okay, well, that's helpful to know.
So you're one of our 134. Thank you. Carol. We will move on to new business. I'll go back to you for the Iowa statistical report.
Yes, that is on page 6 in your packet. And you can see IOAs are busy. We had like 202 in this quarter. Most of them were approved. Some were denied. You know, typically they haven't submitted everything they need to. They believe if they just submit a CE certificate that says, you know, some national thing gave them 6 hours, then I'm automatically gonna give them 6 hours. They don't need to send an agenda with times listed. And so I remind them that some of those national ones actually figure it on 60 minutes and we figure on 50. So they usually end up getting more our way. That makes them happy usually. But other than that, I think those are going fine. Long-term provider renewal applications and stuff like that, you'll see those. Single provider, we've been busy with single provider. I'm noticing a lot of the same issues though. They're not familiar with what we're talking about, and they'll send in one and I go back and forth with them numerous times until I finally get everything. And then 2 months later, they'll submit another one that has the same deficiencies that they had the first time, which to me means that they're not really learning anything here. So I think that's an opportunity for education too. There's lots of opportunities.
And the 2023 IV therapy annual report.
Yeah, that's on page 7. And this and the upcoming CNE ones, we have a few that haven't submitted it, so just need to go out and kind of start direct communication with them. We haven't heard anything out of Ellsworth for both their CNE and their IV therapy, so I'm wondering if they're just not doing it anymore or something, because we found out with some of the providers that they don't do it anymore, but they never really let us know. So it's kind of a learning curve. So I will bring that back in December and hopefully know a little bit more about the ones that are missing.
And then the CNE annual report data.
Yeah, that's actually starts on page 8. Same thing, there's a few. Now, one of these I saw just came through that they submitted it a couple days ago or something. So they're still submitting. And same thing, I will go out and work with them and make sure that they get very confused when they've done a renewal application not too far away. They think they've already done this. They don't understand the difference between the annual statistical report and the renewal report. They get those so confused and they're like, well, I already sent that in. I sent that in like January. And it's like, no, you didn't send the same thing in. But yeah, so I'll bring this back in December and have a little bit more final, because I will have talked to some of these and try to find out why they didn't submit it.
Okay, so we will move on to our long-term provider 5-year renewals. We will start with ARJ Infusion Services.
Starts on page 13, and that's actually Andrea and Melanie.
thing I, noted on this provider is that on their 2 sample courses, they, the first one had some older sources, and the second one, I did not see a bibliography or an evaluation form. Yeah. But
First, I thought both of their submissions were by 2018, but I guess that is the first of the first year of the 5
Mhm.
years. But I agree with the bibliography. I don't know if they're thinking because it was 2 hours if they didn't need to. But the objectives, did you say objectives you couldn't? They were on here.
no,
Evaluation and.
Oh,
the
evaluation.
evaluation for that, for the second course.
Yeah, there wasn't one.
And I will say this coordinator just kind of took over for someone else, you know, who left.
Yeah.
So I actually worked a lot because this coordinator wasn't really clear about some of this, so, probably on some of that, it just wasn't there, and, you know, this was kind of what he inherited, so.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's here with the bibliography. It's on the bottom.
Did I just overlook it for that second course?
I overlooked it too.
Okay, well, good.
I don't know how because I. Looked at that to be sure they were within range.
For the treatment and research update?
That myasthenia gravis diagnosis and treatment.
Oh, I gotcha. A little out of order. Okay,
On
Start with
page
that.
49.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just totally missed it.
Okay, so again, I mean, I think, there are a couple older, or an older resource here. So do we wanna make a motion?
I'm looking at 2018, I guess. They're not as old as I. And there was a couple older ones, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they were like 2007. So,
It should be good. Yes, sorry, I move to accept or approve.
okay, so moved and seconded, all those in favor, say yes?
Yeah.
Opposed, no? Abstaining. Okay. We'll move on to Gerard Medical Center.
That is on page 58 in your packet, starts on there, and that is Lori and Karen, so it's Lori.
Couple notes about the wrong calculation, 39 hours. And then on the certificate, like it said, the date is the date the presenter and the coordinator signed, not the date of the course. But other than that, I didn't notice anything else.
Today too, and about the same thing.
We want them to have like revisions. Or just everyone. Like a little note.
I would be okay for those things. I would be okay with just a comment to update, yeah.
Okay, to improve the long-term provider by your Google or your rental center. Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor said yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Abstaining. Okay, passes. The next. Is Great Plains Health Alliance.
That starts on page 95, and that is Juliana and Melanie.
Talked about this a little bit before. This to me is the premier example of all applications. They have like title pages. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
We need to send them a letter to say, great job.
We had a big job and she did it wonderfully. The absolute only comment that I had is, questionable in how the bibliography is on 167, but that's not even her doing it. It's one of the hospitals that she takes care of doing it. But she just,
It's not really APA format.
yeah, that was my only absolute only comment I can make on that, other than she does a fantastic job.
Well, and the number of hospitals, I can't remember what page that was, but the list of, to your point, the big job that she does.
Yeah,
This is the consortium of Western Kansas hospitals and their education program. So there's like 20, like Waukene was on there.
yeah, I can't.
Hey, I can't remember all Ellsworth. I don't know. I can't name them all. I don't know them all, but all the Western Kansas hospitals, it was
Smith County, I was just like, oh,
I moved to approve the
Late.
long-term provider 5-year renewal application for Great Plains Health Alliance.
and I absolutely second it.
That's the full first of that. It's
Yes.
been moved and seconded, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Abstaining. Motion passes. Okay, we will move to Hutchinson Regional Medical Center.
And this one might be a little problem because it starts on page 195, but it's Giovanni and Karen.
Oh, my.
So I don't know, I mean, she sounded like she was on her way.
We
Might be
wanna
here soon.
circle back to that one,
That's
maybe.
what I'm wondering,
I
yeah.
took a quick look at that too, but maybe we'll come back to that at the end of our long-term providers, see if Giovanni is here. So we'll skip ahead and move to Livette Health.
Well, that help. That's on 269, and that's Andrea and Melanie.
I didn't see bibliographies. Ones that they gave, but it is PALS and ECLS, so I know what books they use because I also teach those,
Mhm.
but I didn't know if those were needed to be submitted or.
I can say the same.
Is that the only thing that they teach is? I mean, that they give CEUs for, because I wonder if they are. Aware of how to put the rest of this together, because everything that they submitted is actually right off of the website for age.
I'm trying to remember, I'm thinking this is a new coordinator. Do you remember, Michelle?
Yeah. I thought.
Yes, it's a new
Yeah,
person.
so I would venture maybe the opportunity for education.
And I think too, that I had a note that, so there. The CV provided does not have any. Prior experience in developing or implementing nursing education.
No.
So. it is noted in their policy. But not here, so maybe this person has it, but their CP is not. Not acknowledge it.
It may be a. This is all they got, type thing, because I know that it was a small hospital. But. Throwing that out there, it's that. Steve. Needs to be aware that. If she does anything else, that we have to have. Everything. I mean, she has everything but the. Bibliography here. But it's stuff that's be made from AHA.
So do we want to, make a motion with a comment or? Just a reminder about. Materials to be included.
Yeah, because I mean, if we're gonna. She just needs, yeah, I guess that's the way to put it. She needs to know that, to pay attention to. What all needs to be included if it's not a pre-prepared course, I guess that's the way to put it.
Okay,
So we have a motion.
I'll second.
The motion that was seconded, all those in favor say yes. It's yes. Anyone opposed, no. Anyone abstaining? The motion passes. The next is mental health association of South Central Kansas.
that's on page 310, and that is Lori and Andrew.
That, the second course at QBR, we didn't have any information on that daily flyer. There was no resume or experience or anything on her. And then the contact hours, I think are miscalculated as well.
Yeah, so when someone lists, I have a question on this for advertisement, so, the verbiage for, that statement of an approved provider, continuing nursing education. So, should it be applicable to all, like, so should everyone say APRN, RN, or LPN licensure?
No, it's only if it would be applicable for each year.
Okay, because another one had that comment, and that made me question, like, hold on. Yeah, okay.
This one's kind of an interesting one though, because if you look at the advertisement on page 340. Oh, never mind. No, was this the one that sometimes their statement didn't really match what was the statement on the certificate as far as. But this one, okay, the template that they sent to us on page 337 for a certificate of attendance has the information. No, it does not have KSBN, and I don't know, it's just kind of confusing the way that they did it. Maybe this is not the one. There's one of them that says that in the advertisement, it's like for APRNs, but then it goes to another place and it doesn't even mention it and stuff like that. So
That might be this one. It doesn't have LPNs.
it's just a little confusing because it doesn't match across everything that they provided.
I dump that up on page 337, it says KBN provider number instead of KSBN, which.
And this is the one that, supposedly the program coordinator is Peggy Bennett. However, we have this Cynthia Johnson who signs stuff, so I asked for clarification. And Cynthia Johnson does the nursing, but Peggy does all the rest of it. How about that?
Yeah, that's what, I had some notes and then I got to here,
Yeah,
there was some sort of verification, yeah.
it just seems kind of strange, but.
I don't know on here if they provided. I haven't seen evaluation for their first. It'd be a reminder for all the components for operating, I marked, but I didn't see an evaluation for broken.
It just said seminar evaluation and then you enter the title, but it didn't have one specifically for each.
Yeah, there was like
A
that
little
generic,
thing,
I wasn't
yeah.
really sure if. So. Maybe, well, I mean, are these enough little things that we should ask for some corrections or clarification and then resubmission, or? You. feel like- Yeah, I mean, it's, these evaluations, I'm not sure what it goes with, but yeah, there's just
Yeah.
general seminar evaluation at the end, but I don't know.
Well, and then
My thought is, if there's a presenter, and we don't have any information on them, that they should probably resubmit. You know, like their experience or anything, because we don't know who the person is that's teaching that. But that second one,
Yeah, we don't have anything for that, Brian Bailey or whatever.
Bailey Bennett, I think.
Bailey Bennett.
Yeah. Not, I mean, there's initials behind her name, but that doesn't really tell us more than that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Somebody.
so for this, we're gonna send back. And ask for those corrections, like the end and. Information to accompany.
So are you just wanting him to resubmit another application, or are you just wanting him to send updated information that was deficit and then bring this application back with the new updated information? I'm not.
I think that's just
I
a
think-
good correction, yeah.
I
Okay,
think it'd be this with corrections.
and then bring it back in December.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next would be. Let's do. That's a lot of things, yeah.
That is on page 349, and that is Juliana and Melanie.
this one's not very clean. Kind of a mess.
It was hard for me to find stuff.
Well, it appears, and I think it makes a lot of sense because hearing them present, they presented at the education committee, so Andrew and I heard that this morning, but they are a department within a hospital who is educating their own staff. And so they aren't advertising to the public. I mean, so they're taking this and twisting it to meet their needs, and they're submitting a hospital policy that really isn't what we're asking to see. Frankly, I'm not sure.
Which is probably why I couldn't find
Mhm.
things at first. I mean, I found a lot of it, but in their presentation, they still have to have everything. on there.
Well, and so I mean, this whole picture to me is. When you look at the whole situation at Osawatomie, when we did their site visit for the LMHT accreditation, we strongly encouraged them to partner with the university or somebody who would help those students get college credit for the work that they're doing. Well, they've never done that. So again, they're just continuing to do departmental level education and trying to get CEUs for it. And honestly, I don't feel like I can support this one in the format that it's presented, because it's, I mean, it's, they need some robust help, and my fear in saying that is then now I think we as a board just kind of said, okay, Carol, here's this, and let's go clean it up, and that's not my intention. I really think they need to go get some external help from somewhere with this.
Well, they can read the regulations just like everybody else, and they're literally doing the absolute bare minimum, expecting it to be okay, and it's not. I mean, there's not bibliographies, there's not evaluations, there's not advertisements, and they know what they're supposed to have. Even my first time coming in with nobody to direct me, I can read regulations and put one of these together.
And I almost feel like this is a denial versus just sending back and asking for a few revisions. I almost feel like this is a denial and and not that they can't reapply, but they really need to start from the beginning and build their application.
And it might help if they have that checklist. I don't know. But the checklist is right out of the regulations.
Yeah, the regulations, I mean, they give you all the information you need to
They
put the
do,
application
yeah.
together. They absolutely do. They just need to sit down and read it and put it together.
Should we deny? Is that feel appropriate to for communication purposes to deny it? I mean, it's more than just a couple revisions like we've seen on some others. To me, this is, or would you rather us say that we just didn't approve it and ask for a resubmission?
Well, I will tell you what typically happens when it's denied, what I have seen is it's kind of a reality check. And I always offer to go over their application with them so that they can help understand what the deficiencies were and what they're gonna have to do different and stuff. And typically I get a phone call. Because they're like, well, this means we can't do CNE, we can't offer CNE, and it's like, yeah, that's right, until you get this. Until you get an application that is approved. And I don't know how much CNE they offer there, truthfully. So I think it does kind of get their attention. That might be.
I move to deny the long-term provider 5-year renewal application.
Okay, is there a second? Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Abstaining. Motion passes. China Mission Public Schools.
Okay, we might want to have to hold this one.
Come back around to this one.
This one's also Giovanni and Karen, so,
Okay.
sorry.
University of Kansas, St. Francis.
This one starts on page 472 and there's quite a few pages there, and that's Andrea and Karen. So Andrea.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't notice anything missing. I know everything was provided. I have a question about the background of the CE providers. I didn't have any issues. I don't know if anyone else took a look, but.
I moved to approve the long-term provider 5-year renewal application with the University of Kansas.
It's a motion, second. Second, all those in favor, yes?
Yeah.
Anyone opposed, no? Abstaining? William Newton Memorial Hospital.
That starts on page 633, and that is Lori and Julie. So Lori.
Did not see. Post-test or return demonstration. But otherwise, I didn't see anything.
Motion.
Motion, to approve.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no? Abstaining? Motion passes. Okay, so we are back around to. The. And China Mission. Okay, so if we can. We all. Take a few moments, just to remind you, I'm just gonna start on 133, or sorry, 199. Welcome. Thank you. We were just reviewing long-term providers. Jefferson and the China Mission School District. So. I think so. For your input.
I think if I remember correctly, this one was really good. For Hutchinson, from Hutchinson, yes, the Hutchinson one.
Format of. Cross maps and all the regulations of the action. And the steps.
Okay.
The
Like,
agenda.
continuing it, yeah.
And they just not have copied well into the scanner, was it?
Well, no, it actually came that way, if I remember correctly, yeah. So I don't know if there was something on there yet that, schedule.
I moved to approve the long-term provider 5-year renewal application for the Hutchinson.
Have a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no? Stephen? Okay, pass. And then we have our last, which is Jefferson School District. Page 435.
Pretty good to me. I think I wondered. And I don't know, this is just from our prior conversation, but it says on the certificate, it just says the long-term provider number. It doesn't say through KSBN. Shouldn't it identify us as their provider as opposed to? And, but that's the only thing I really found. It's not in a great order. It kind of jumps around. I did finally find the resume. I assume that is for the person in charge.
I didn't find hers.
You didn't.
Okay, Joanne.
Yeah, it wasn't for Joanne, so it was probably one. Well, there may be. Yeah, that Joanne Clemens, I never did see her resume. maybe we ask for submission for that. I mean, to me, that's kind of a big piece is who's overseeing this. I would support, I mean, there's some good things here that I.
About the education we're doing.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to know that she's. Planners.
As qualification to do it.
Pending submission of that information, I would support approval, so I guess I move to approve the long-term provider after receipt of a resume from the site coordinator, Joanne Levin, for the 5-year renewal application for Shawnee Mission Public Schools.
You have a motion. In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And moved and seconded. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. And abstaining. Motion passes. Okay. There's 5-year legislative review.
Okay. What you have first is on page 65, 11, 19, that's on page something. I can't read it, but anyway, that is a statute. So we're not doing it the same way that we're doing the new regulation review process. So you can probably do this one and then I'll explain the other one if you want to.
So we just need to review this and consider if we think that there are any issues that could be up for discussion, but we know from prior conversation that that would require changes going to the legislature, et cetera. So we just need to review and see if we're fine with the way that the statute stands currently.
I move to approve KSA 651119 as written.
Motion, second.
Oh,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Abstaining? Okay, motion passes. And so now, regulations go.
Yeah, you actually have 60-16-102. And that one was kind of put above the new regulation review process because I think that was a holdover from last time. However, if you want to, you can go ahead and review it the new way, and that way it'll already be done. So just to kind of explain the new way for you, starting on page 673 of your packet, there was a law that was passed in 2022 that state agencies are required to submit a report that includes extensive review of their regulations every 5 years. We have 90 regulations to do in our Nurse Practice Act. We've always reviewed them on a 5-year schedule, but not to the extent that we have to now. So the report for the Board of Nursing has to be submitted by July 15th, 2025. So we have 90 regulations to go through and all the committees, among all the committees. And have it all finalized and everything by June of 2025. So the staff got together and kind of looked at what would be a process that we think that would work. Because this extensive review needs to be done by committees and board members, not staff. And there will be this very extensive report. I've seen the template, it's very long, that we'll have to do We'll have to put every regulation on there. So you actually see the form that we have to follow on page 674. Part 1, you don't have to worry about because the agency staff will do that. Part 2 is where the committee members and board members need to answer these questions. Basically, what is driving this is nationwide, there's a perception that there's overregulation. And probably for a couple of years now, when I've taken regulation revisions over to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs, they have been very, very clear that every agency needs to be looking at cutting down the number of regulations that they have because there's too many regulations. So I believe this law came about because of that. Because if you look at what's included in page or part 2 on that page, you have to answer these questions about the necessity of that regulation and potential for revocation. And some of them you have to put in some text, you know. One of them has a maximum of 800 characters, one of them has a maximum of 400 characters. And then you have an area at the bottom if you want to put additional information. You certainly can do that, but again, you're just going to have to say why these regulations are necessary. What would be the effect on the public if it was revocated? Okay, not saying that we should revoke it, but just what would be the consequence? So in looking at this, we thought it probably would be helpful if one of you today, there should be some of these blank forms laying around. One of you kind of writes down what everybody kind of agrees on. There's 3 regulations that you'll have to do: 60-16-102, 60-4-103, and 60-9-105. Then what will happen is you all will put together your comments today on that sheet. It will be given to Stacy, and then we will put it all in a nice form that has, you know, the part 1 filled in and everything like that, and it will be back in your packet for December for you to approve that. And then it would go to the board the next day to approve. So there'll kind of be a delay, if you know what I'm, because there's no way we can get this all in this nice little thing so that you can approve it today, based on everything that you're gonna say probably. And then going forward, if you can do some of this work before you come to the committee, and then it's just a matter of everyone agreeing, you know, then it might move ahead just a little bit faster. We can have blank copies of this, paper copies if you want. Paper copies, we can email out the tab and type so that you can fill in whatever is helpful to you all. Does that make sense? Any questions?
I do, Carol, I do have 2 questions. One, when you mentioned they thought 90 regulations were too much, who were you referring to? And then the second question is, what did they compare it to? Like, did they go to other states and compare the regulations that they have compared to Kansas, or how did they end up with that?
They would be the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs, and that's a committee that I have to go over anytime you want regulations revised. After they've been through Department of Administration, the Attorney General's office, and they approve them, then we have to publish them in the Kansas Register. That's when we have to do the comment period. And during that comment period, I have to go over to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs, and I think there's like 4 senators and 4 representatives, something like that. And you basically have to tell about the changes in the regulation. But it is a comment the last 2 years, every time I've been over there. And every person that's ahead of me, because there's usually several of us presenting that day, you need to have less regulations. You need to. haven't explained to me as to why they make that comment, so I can't answer that second. I don't know if they're comparing us to another state or what. They haven't shared that information.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think that's, yeah. So do we want to, so as part of our prior conversation and then maybe the rules regs, we want to review 102, 103, and 105. Here, committee to comment. Okay.
So based on the form, I would suggest that this regulation is necessary.
So you're on 102.
I'm on 102, yeah.
And, you do not have 102 form in your packet, but we have some like ones if you want to write on it. You have 103 and I think it's 105. But 102 was not made up on the form, but we do have blank ones.
Yeah, it was kind of a holdover from last time that I thought if you wanted to, you could do it today and it would be out of the way. It's up to you.
We should do it. I guess I was pretty simple in what I wrote. I think it is necessary. I feel like it does the rule and regulation serve as an identifiable public purpose, and I absolutely think it does. It is briefly described how revocation would affect Kansas, and what I wrote was the regulation specifies the scope of practice for LPN's level of education with respect to IVs and medication. And it is not being revoked, and it is an active use. I can assure you in my little book that this is one of the most utilized regs. So, what I wrote for under potential of for revocation, I said that the regulation specifies scope of practice specific to the LPN's level of education with respect to IVs and medication.
So we don't. I think I would remember this education. We don't need to make it, as long as we're fine with that, we can turn that in, and it would come back to us.
So it'll come back to you in
You.
December
Okay.
on this nice form, all filled in. And if you decide at that point that that isn't what you wanted to say, we can redo it.
Sounds good. Anybody have additions, comments, edits? Okay, great, thank you, Juliana. So that's for 102. 3. Fees and travel expenses for school approval and approval of education providers. Okay, necessary for implementation, administration of state law, in order to provide oversight. So yes, it serves an identifiable public purpose. All revocation affect Kansans. Have some consistent framework to consistent fees.
Provide standardization for IV certification for LPNs.
It's not actually one of the skills of nursing and.
Okay.
Just as a reminder, we are a fee-funded agency. These are some of the fees that we bring in on an annual basis.
Well, honestly, we're looking at some of these fees, I'm thinking, like we do, that's all the fees are.
Yeah, this has not been amended since April 17th of 2015. your initial approval, and then your annual for the nursing programs and continuing education.
This is, I think it's a must. Because you have to get down there to see what's going on and see if what they say is happening is actually happening. They're like surveyors about hospitals and long-term care.
So can we just say maybe as a fee-funded agency, standard fees are required to support oversight requirements? Or
And it helps pay for, I mean, it helps fund the work that goes into approving and doing the annual reports and making sure that all of the regulations are approved. That's also part of what we do when we, look at an application.
Not to mention, if you're having to pay a fee to apply, you're gonna pay attention to that application a little closer, because you don't want to deny it and have to redo it.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
the fee-funded agency standard fees are required to support staff, time and effort required to oversee. Education requirements or.
Helps to ensure that what is put on the application is actually being done on site. I need to actually go to the site. Maybe like accuracy of the application. Yeah, I'm sure accuracy of the application.
For both schools of nursing and continuing education.
Right. Fee-funded agency standard fees are required to support staff time and effort required to oversee public education provider requirements and to ensure nursing education standards are maintained. Like it's open for the school of nursing, but. Okay. That's a starting point. How about that? Okay. And we have 104. Oh, our definitions.
105, I
I'm
started,
sorry, 105.
yeah, you're,
Yeah.
no, it's good, so I started it, so you jump in here. I put that it is necessary for implementation of the laws and it is, there is an identifiable public purpose, and then so my statement under potential for revocation, I wrote. The statute ensures standardization and communication with respect to requirements for continuing education for practicing nurses across the state of Kansas. So in essence, it's what this is the meat of what we look at when we meet as this committee. I tried to say that in a sentence, and then it is not being revoked, and then I felt like NA, because we're not recommending, I mean, it is inactive, so
It's a regulation, but not a statute.
regulation.
say statute?
Yes, so thank you,
Okay.
regulation. Thank you. So the regulation ensures standardization and communication. With respect to requirements for continuing education for practice and nurses across the state. Right.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move to our agenda for December 2023 committee meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there was one thing that I did not get done for this one that we had talked about. And that's the bibliography format for digital references. I kind of got a big project that kind of took a little bit more of my time, but I can bring that in December.
That would be great. How many regulations are those the only regulations for this committee?
Would that be a good order? Let me see if I have that someplace. That was cute. Let me just get someplace. And I can tell you. You were hoping that, I mean, yeah. I saw on your face. Never cute. I'm like, no. Regs by committee, here we go, regs by committee. Investigative only has 2, education has 25, CNE IV therapy has 11, APRN has 22, and practice has 27.
Okay.
So if you want, since CNE has 11, and you've done 3 of them, do you just want like maybe 3 at a time or something, or how do you want this?
I think that sounds fine.
Okay,
So we have 8 after what we did today. So they're going to 4 and 4,
up to you guys, how you want to do it?
knock it out. I guess it depends on how many applications we get.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of applications this time, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe just in case, we could do 3, 3, and then we can finish it up with 2.
Okay, okay,
Just,
we can do that. We have control of that.
okay, that seemed like a good number, just in
Okay.
case. That's
Okay.
INR.
But see, you're
Agenda
not
time.
as bad as practice, they have 27.
Right. 11 seems.
That is okay.
like a nice number. Definitely doable. So then we are adjourned. Thank you.
So, did you